So welcome. Today we would be talking about the fact that all organizations, all businesses, they realize and they are completely aware of the need for digital transformation, the need uh, for making certain changes in the organization, in the way organizations work towards uh, towards better productivity, better efficiency, essentially towards better business outcomes. And those business outcomes are very much based on what kind of technology interventions can be made. But then, while with that awareness is there, it is a struggle for organizations to really define those initiatives well, and also to identify the right initiatives to go on and to put them in a sequence. And that's what we would be talking about today. We really hope that this is found to be useful for all, and it does address some of the key issues that chief digital officers, chief information officers, the CFOs, the CEOs, they face, and perhaps some of the thoughts, some of the frameworks, some of the approaches that we would be sharing today are found useful. So quickly, I'm Manish Kodha, as was very kindly introduced, and with me is Vikram. Vikram is our director of consulting practice, and so today we would be taking you along with various approaches and methods about going about digital transformation in a logical manner.
Thank you, Manish.
Vikram, you there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Okay, so as we go about it very quickly, let me talk about our organization. We are in the business of making technology work. Making technology work is our mission, and what we really mean by that is the recognition of the fact that any technology is not immediately usable by an organization, and to be able to realize the value that technology has, the potential that that technology has, that technology needs to be assessed, identified, implemented. Change management needs to be made, the adoption process and improvement process, all of those have to go about in making that technology work for an organization. That's what we do. uh, in other words, we are we are in the business of providing what we call as tailored digital transformation solutions. Because for technology to work, it has to be adapted to a particular organization, its context, its both technology context and the business context, as well as the overall business environment that that organization is in. And it has to be adapted to the specific needs that that organization might have. So we provide those tailored solutions, especially in the realm of business applications and analytics. And we help organizations with the entire life cycle, the entire journey of making that digital transformation, from the point of identifying what is really needed, what technology interventions need to be made, how and in what sequence that we can go about it. So that's essentially what we would be talking about today as well, which is largely about information strategy to implementing it, making the technology deployments done, uh, making sure that people use it, all of that, to extending those technology implementation, the data that is collected, to derive right kind of insights, right kind of information, right kind of visibility into what's going on within an organization, outside the organization, and so on. And then further expanding it, further building onto it to bring in intelligence, to bring in automation, to expand using the the latest technology breakthroughs that might happen, giving the organization the edge in the market. So we work with organizations across this journey for solution areas relating to decision making, which is largely about analytics, BI, using data to find inferences and make decisions. And the second is customer experience. That would be about covering the entire customer journey from awareness of your organization, your products, to procuring them, to CRM, to providing service. So the customer experience aspect of it, then the business productivity, which is both about people productivity and all, as well as about the organizational processes. So we help with project management, ERP, uh, collaboration solutions, and like. And the fourth area is technology-led innovation, which is essentially to talk about things where technology can be used in an organization to innovate or to bring about new products or new ways of working, and that might require an innovative application of a new technology or an innovative use of an existing technology. And we have been working with lots of organizations through last so many years, including some of the global giants like Microsoft, Google, HP, Cisco, uh, with their digital transformation initiatives, with their digital initiatives in the areas of automation, in the areas of data analytics, and so on, as well as Indian organizations in India like the Adani Group, L&T, Vedanta Group, Secure Meters, companies of large and medium size, as well as smaller sized companies that we have been working with. And we have worked with some of the most demanding customers and that has ensured that we are aware of what kind of challenges organizations face, what kind of process that organizations should be using to go about doing their digital transformation.
Also, we have established ourselves in many capabilities and is having deep partnerships with organizations like Microsoft. So we have a gold competency in various Microsoft partnerships like cloud platform, cloud productivity, as well as data analytics, as well as we are doing a lot of work in business applications with Microsoft, as well as we have other partnerships like Sitecore for digital assets and digital marketing across the organizations and across channels, as well as with the Oracle NetSuite for business applications, and AWS for cloud. So, we have been a partner for Microsoft for long, I think, more than 15 years since then.
Okay, so as we discussed today, we would be talking about what digital transformation is, how can we think about digital transformation in a way that allows us to identify digital initiatives in a meaningful manner, and as we identify those digital initiatives, what could be the factors and how those factors can be logically used to prioritize them, and how can then we can go about that. So so jumping onto that, we have learned this approach. We call it as the idea framework about going about digital transformation. That is essentially a set of activities or set of mindsets that are required in an organization to embark on digital transformation. So it starts uh, from essentially thinking about what would be the future state of an organization, how that would be relevant, how that would be desirable, defining it further, and then getting the teams, getting the various parts of organizations involved in a relevant and meaningful manner, and then setting about execution on those by right prioritization and right enablement of resources.
And this framework has been developed by Microsoft after going through the experience which has they got while working in the field, and they have studies many organizations and many customers, like how they are doing their digital transformation journey, and based on that this framework was created.
So before we get into that, one of the key questions that we would want to address right away is what is this all hoopla about digital is about? Uh, Technology has been uh, mm, helping businesses for many years now. It is not new. Organizations have been using technologies and have been putting in lots of information technology initiatives, have been spending quite a bit, organizations of all sizes at all places. Uh, and then now we have started to talk about digital transformation. Is that just another buzzword? Is that just old wine in a in a new bottle, or we are talking about something fundamentally different? N- Now, to understand that, and the way we think about digital is in terms of how we can think about IT initiatives or how IT initiatives were thought about. Think about what were the first applications of technology in any business. Those were things like accounting, payroll, things that were done already, things that needed to be done, but then they with application of technology, we could do them much more efficiently at a much higher scale. And that did have a transformational impact on businesses. But then it was about picking up business processes and making them better, making them more efficient. But then today, when we think about digital transformation, we are not talking about business processes as such. We are looking at business as a whole. We are looking at how businesses sustain themselves, how businesses grow, how businesses make money, and does technology impact that basic structure of business? How can technology change the business as a whole, where the impact is on business model itself, the impact is on how that business delivers value to its customers? Now that's the difference. So they are not unrelated. That's it's when we are talking about digital today, that doesn't mean that the thinking and the learnings from doing a lot of IT initiatives in the past is no longer relevant. It's not that one feeds to another. But then the need today is to think about IT or technology not in terms of business processes, not in terms of what would be the functional aspects that technology can impact, but in terms of business model itself. So when we think about this kind of a impact on business model, the what has really changed, what has really become different. Now there have been certain technology advancements which have happened in last few years, perhaps 5, 10, 15 years, which has made digital transformation possible. The rise of these technology trends is what that has made all the difference.
Yeah, when we see that, means what kind of technologies have evolved, or means what kind of things within our reach, which were not few years before. So things like technology democratization, where every business and means everybody can get has access to the new technology. With the growth of cloud, everything is available instantly, whether it is an application or in terms of infrastructure or in terms of connectivity. So that is possible with the growth of cloud, as well as hyper connectivity. So everything is connected, like the persons are talking to persons, or persons to machine, or machine to machine. So this is a kind of connectivity which is happening within the realm, as well as the connectivity in terms of the whole value chain. So that kind of connectivity was not possible before, and that has enabled digital transformation.
So if you think about these trends, it is really about technology permeating in each and every part of our lives, our businesses, our value chains, our customers, our partners, our vendors. And those are the elements which really build the business. If you think about a business is nothing but a device, an engine, which continues and in a sustained manner builds customer value. That's what a business is. The purpose of the business is to continue doing that. Now, when all of the parts of that, how that value delivery is happening, if these are impacted by these technology changes, we can logically think that value delivery transformation is not just possible, but is required. Now, the important thing is, and when we think about the first part in our idea framework, we have to think about business model itself. We have to think about what is the crux of business model. As we talked about, it is about creating value for the customer. It is about how can a business continue to create value for the customer. Now, when we think of customer value as the central tenet, we need to think about what customer value is all about. And I would urge all of you as a part of this masterclass to think about your business in terms of these value dimensions. Economists and business theoreticians, they have long identified four aspects of value that any business creates for its customers. It is functional, which is getting the job done. It is economic dimension, which is when a particular product is cheaper, is better, or does things faster. So it is all about the economic value of it. Then it is about the social aspect of a product. Does that product make you look good in the society, or that is something which is more acceptable, or it is kind of trendy, or not. And emotional, whether that product allows the consumer to feel better. Now, when we think of these four dimensions of value, all of those four dimensions, they are applicable to all businesses in different proportions, in different ways, but then they are applicable to all businesses, and all businesses strive to increase value in these dimensions. So what we urge to do, and as we think about digital transformation, we need to think about what your organization, what your business creates in terms of values in all of these dimensions. So we can think of your product, we can think of your product in terms of what are the value dimensions, what are the business processes, what are the elements within your own business which are influencing that particular value being delivered. So and what can be the success factor within that business process in respect of, in relevance to the value that is being provided to the customer. And when you think of that, you identify what are the interactions or what are the organizational elements which are relevant to providing that value, providing those and getting that success. And that, when you marry with what kind of technology changes have happened, you start to see how digital can influence value delivery in your organization. Now, take a simple example. When we think of economic value in any business, it is about how do you build more in less price, or how do you provide more to your customer uh, in the least price possible. And which would be, when you think in terms of your processes, it would be about reducing efforts and how do you add more value to your inputs. And there could be various success factors to there, but then one of those could be what is the kind of experience that you are providing to your customers. And when you think in terms of what are the organizational elements and that are in there, it's easy to see that modern digital channels, they could be a great way of making that value enhancement possible. Now, it is just an example that we've just talked about. Then, but then this is a way of thinking. This is a framework that you can apply in your business to identify what kind of digital trends are very relevant, are more relevant to your organization, and how and where they apply. And when we look at it even further, you think about when we talked about that those elements which add value for your customer, those elements were built of certain business processes and certain business process elements or certain interactions that your business has, whether those interaction is with employees, with partners, with the equipment, with the assets, with the customers, or with society at large. When you look at any of those interactions, we need to think in terms of how technology have been influencing those interfaces. The the interesting thing and the important thing to realize that is what was considered to be the cutting edge or something in the realm of future till a day back, they are already available. They are already available to be used, and that opportunity for you to use them today is available, and it would not be prudent to let go of that opportunity. Now again, this is a way of thinking where you can look at a particular organizational element. You can think of what kind of technologies are influencing that element, and what kind of goals that particular technology enables, and what kind of initiatives that can happen there. So, think about it. Today, all of these aspects of conversational interfaces or open protocols, those are all getting available, and that means your digital initiatives about perhaps intelligent work automation, intelligent allocation, or API-based value chain integration. All of those, they are available today and relevant today. Now let's take an example. Now when you think of this example, this is a very small piece, and that is just to illustrate that a particular business interaction can also be thought in terms of what elements of value that are there, and what elements of technology intervention would be influencing the customer value. Excuse me, Vikram.
Yeah. So this is just an example of like how to do any exercise to understand like what the when the customers are interacting or customers are participating, what kind of interaction, also what kind of questions they have. So this is an example of like online retail customer ordering scenario where means there are different kind of steps that a customer is doing, and what the customer is expecting in each steps, and with the expectation what they are thinking or what kind of questions they have in mind. So important part about this exercise like how have we identified or how we are how we taken care of the questions which are coming into customers' mind when they are doing any kind of interactions. So that is about like how we are able to meet the customer's need, and how we can anticipate that what kind of value a customer is getting in each steps. So that based on this kind of exercise, we can work and we can optimize on the business models. And when we are doing these kind of exercise, so when we can think about like will this kind of business model will change the customer experience, will it allow to move into the new markets, or it is more about would it reduce the cost or shrink the risk. So by doing these kind of exercise, we are able to understand that means how we are strengthening the value chain.
So what we want to illustrate here and emphasize here is that this thinking about how customer value happens and what interactions are there, that exercise needs to be done at all levels. It can be done at the broad value definition level, it can be done at the broad interactions and elements level, and it can be done at specific transactions and specific interactions level as well. And as you can see, the questions that we have just talked about, the questions that customer has in mind, they have, all of them have bearing on what value that an organization is delivering to its customer. And so here is an example of making it real. You think about customer value, you think about the interactions, you think about what are the elements in an organization that is in there, you think about what kind of technology interactions that it entails and what can change there. So, so in summary, when we think about identifying uh, relevant initiatives, it is very much about understanding the business model. It is very much about understanding the business model from a customer value perspective, and understanding in terms of where digital can be applied. And for that, we need to think about these customer value characteristics that we talked about, and we have to think about what are the organizational or business elements or the core interactions that the business does uh, to make that happen. Now, that's what when we think about these elements, they do not really exist in isolation. They're all connected, of course, and the digital transformation is about making that connection more fruitful. So when you think about these interactions that these various business elements make, those business elements and the interactions, they are nothing but data. They are streams of data that gets captured. So those are signals that these interactions create. How do we use them? How do we improve them? Is what digital transformation is all about. So that is about when you connect, collect, and synthesize all of those signals into creating much improved business outcomes across the interactions towards better customer value. That's where the digital feedback loop gets completed, and that's what we mean by digital transformation. So these can be thought in terms of, you know, these specific digital goals, how, or digital elements. How do you use product telemetry? You can make employees more effective, make more efficient operations, and so on. So when you think about digital transformation in that manner, that can again be applied in a thoughtful framework like this, where we isolate an organizational element. We identify digital purposes in terms of, so if you go back and look at these various interactions which are happening, you can easily see what is the kind of digital purpose or goals that that particular interaction or that particular organizational element would have. And this would be helped with your analysis of what element of customer value is getting created by what organizational element, through what purposes, through what business processes. So you have already done that analysis, and then you plug that analysis to understanding of what could be the digital purposes in there. And then you can think in terms of what could be the opportunities and initiatives that you can think of in your organization. So this is the kind of exercise that that you can perform based on the understanding of customer value, based on the understanding of what organizational elements are, based on the understanding of how technology touches those elements and those interactions, and where the possible digital opportunities are. And when you marry up those, you get to what could be the possible initiatives. The beauty of this approach is that each of these initiatives, we have a complete trail of context there. So we know what is the purpose of that initiative, what is the success criteria of that initiative, what are the business value aspects or customer value aspects that that particular initiative is all about. Knowing that in advance ensures that you are not doing technology for technology's sake. You are not doing digital because it is trendy. You are not making investments just because somebody else is doing it, but then you're doing it for a very relevant purpose in your organization.
So just let's take just one example in this. So like in case of if we take customers digital purpose, that we need to create a kind of a seamless experience for customer with the interface modernization and efficiency. And this is a very kind of a real world example where the customer experience broken experience when they are talking to different teams in the organization. So like a storefront or call center or support center. So everyone has a different perspective or different information about customer. And this is a kind of a broken experience customer face. So for that, the digital opportunity is about creating a kind of a seamless multi-channel experience where the relevant information is there, like in a kind of organization where the organization is has a kind of e-commerce site, a retail store, as well as the other channels. So when a customer go to any channel, they should see the same kind of experience. Everybody should know the information about them, and the based on that we can identify the relevant initiatives for this. So in this case, it is about like creating a unified customer profile which everyone has access to, as well as there are some underlying initiatives which calls for like a centralized data warehouse, CRM integrated with the workflows, as well as enterprise search, as well as artificial intelligence chatbot on the website. So these are like different kind of initiative which are interrelated, but they are fulfilling the digital purpose of interface modernization and creating a kind of a seamless multi-channel experience.
So this is how you can arrive at digital initiatives and identify digital initiatives which are relevant to your organization. So as you can see, this is the part of the inspire and design phases of the idea framework as we talked about. Now, when you think about this idea framework and inspire and design and getting about this entire exercise of identifying the business model elements and what would be the digital purposes to it, what would be the interactions, how customer value would be impacted, and what could be the initiatives there. That process is not is something which cannot be done by just a few people, and it is something that takes a larger team, but people to come together to think in terms of uh, what would you want your business to be like in future. So that is really about thinking in terms of how you would continue to provide customer value in future as well. Where can where what are the opportunities of improvement and what can it be? So it is about envisioning your future business, having a series of workshop about that, which is where you can think in terms of what are the customer value aspects that you have today, how the customer journey is going on, how the business model is built around that, and what can change there. So as you go about that, you can think in terms of what could be the business model shifts that could be there for adding more value. So can you have a more proactive customer role as you do, because it's all about customer, it's all about adding customer value. So this is how you can go about creating that and identifying the outcome. So you can think in terms of what would be the in the within the workshop, what could be the possible outcomes, wow, how digital can affect those various business elements and those various business model elements, and those all ideas that they can get into becoming how what those initiatives are. And as you go about it, you can really identify the entire context as we talked about. So you have the context trail available if you go with this process of identifying the business model elements, the organizational elements within that, the what are the interventions that are needed, what are the interactions that are there, and you connect them to digital purposes. And based on that, what are the digital opportunities which are available today with the technology advancements, and translate that into uh, technology initiatives. And that trail of context is what would be the business case for each of those digital initiatives. And that is where this particular framework leads you to. So I'm just we are just getting back to that slide to show you that this is the kind of outcome that inspire and design phase should lead you to. Now, that's just the other way of looking at it. Those outcomes, those initiatives that have been identified with their context trail, they are the destinations for your various digital initiatives. Though, so that's the kind of destination where would your organization look, where would your organization reach and look like upon that transformation. So those could be as you can see in this graphic, uh, we have to think in terms of all the value dimensions. We have to think in terms of all the organizational elements and interactions. And then as you bring them together, those digital initiatives could be about decision making and insights, and there could be, they could be about productivity, value chain monetization, uh, customer experience, integrated operations, and so on. So those are the destinations. The reason we talk about this in that way is because at this moment it becomes important that these destinations are vividly painted. Those The context trail is used to vividly identify and organize what would be the kind of outcome, so that we can share the vision to the various organizational constituents making that change happen. So that's the empower stage in the idea framework. Okay. And that is where that destination view becomes important. So here you are thinking in terms of what really would be the outcome, and you would be thinking in terms of what that outcome would look like. And that's where it is important to think in terms of what would be the domain of that particular initiative. And understanding that domain of that initiative is about thinking in terms of what would be the functional areas that might be impacted, what would be the organizational levels within those various functional areas. And also we have to think in terms of what is the kind of technology context that you already have, what are the kind of applications that you already have, what data stores, and so on. And then those all become uh, the elements of the domain, uh, where where which get connected to that digital initiative. So the idea here is that each of those digital initiative gets connected to the domain which need to be empowered to think through and build that digital initiative. And to define that domain, we can think of in these dimensions.
And this is also about like when we have identified different kind of initiatives, we need to think about like what are the dimensions or what are the areas which needs more prioritization than the others. So these are the like some of the dimensions which we can think about to decide like what kind of areas we can uh, do the prioritization or create a kind of a roadmap. like which things will come first and which will come later.
So then comes the achieve stage or achieve phase of the idea framework. And that is where we need to get into the brass tacks of planning these initiatives. And planning these initiatives is not about taking each and every initiative and going about it. It is about creating a strategic portfolio of initiatives. And that means identifying what initiatives need to be prioritized, what and balanced across the domains. So you take the domains, you put the initiatives against those domains, you identify the stakeholders, and you think in terms of what what would be the phase, what would be the stages in which those initiatives would be implemented. So what would be the roadmap, what would be the various milestones in that digital transformation journey, and how your digital portfolio would look across various points in time. So, of course, the important thing to understand here and appreciate here is that digital transformation is a journey. Digital transformation is built up of many initiatives, and not all of those initiatives might be relevant. Not all of those initiatives might be as successful as you have expected. But then the uh, the impetus here is the purpose here is to ensure that as all of those initiatives work together, we we reach the customer value transformation as was desired, and in a way which is smooth. So it is about creating the right roadmap, and to create those right roadmap, we have to sequence the initiatives. The initiative sequencing is key to successful digital transformation, because it allows you to pick up uh, digital initiatives which have the highest impact at lowest costs or lowest disruption. And as you think of those impact, as you build on one digital initiatives, you create a framework and a platform for the next digital initiative. So that way you build iteratively, you build on successes, you build on the strengths, and you achieve a customer value transformation that you have aimed for.
And these prioritization factors also depends on some things are quantifiable, but some things are more qualitative, or which has more meaning, or which is a kind of a, we can relate a direct impact to the customer value. Also in terms of complexity, like how many variables are involved, or like what kind of functions are there, uh, and also like what is the availability of data for doing these initiatives. So like sometimes there is data is not available, or data is not relevant, or in terms of uh, uh, visibility, as well as in terms of governance. Some things are prioritized based on the compliance requirements. So based on these factors, we need to check and define that what should be our roadmap for initiating these digital transformation projects. So based on that, we can create a kind of a framework for prioritization.
Uh, so this is how we can bring all of these aspects that we just talked about together. As we have identified the initiatives, we identify the domains that those initiatives relate to, and then we apply the prioritization factors. Now, what could be the impact and value aspect of it? What could be the complexity? What could be the cost and time aspects of it? They need not to be precise and quantitative, but then even a qualitative subjective assessment across various stakeholders within your organization would allow you to assess various initiatives. And since you have the context trail and the business case for each of the initiative at hand, it should be easy to think in terms of what would be the extent of impact, what would be the costs and complexity, and so on. Now you can, as you put all of these together, it should be instructive and it should be straightforward, to the extent possible, of course, that we can identify digital initiatives of lowest disruption and highest impact. So high impact, low cost initiatives, and low disruption initiatives or low complexity initiatives that are taken first. As you do it, other initiatives become simpler, becomes more available. A simple example there is, let's say you take a cloud migration exercise for some of your core applications, let's say messaging applications. Now that can be in some organizations a relatively low impact initiative, and but then that once you have gone through that, it enables a whole lot of other initiatives right away with lesser complexity. So that way you can build on one initiative after another and go about achieving the digital transformation vision.
So this is the summary of is about creating the road mapping process where we had talked about the inspire and design phase, about taking the inputs of current state as well as defining the future state. And based on that, we are creating a kind of fit gap analysis that what are the gaps are there. Then we are identifying various themes and initiatives based on a broader business model case scenario as well as the customer interaction scenarios. And then we are doing business prioritization. That means what kind of domains or what kind of initiatives we need to prioritize, doing the business justifications, and then about thinking about means what could be the risk, and we are sequencing the initiatives. So once the sequence of initiatives is done through taking care of prioritization factors, so that builds out a roadmap on which like we need to communicate to everyone. So that is about sharing the vision with all of the team and stakeholders, and then work on that roadmap to start the journey of digital transformation.
So once you have gotten to a roadmap, and that is really about laying out the information strategy, the digital transformation is, as we talked about, is a journey which where each of those initiatives has to go through the process of envisioning, right preparation, and then making sure that those technology aspects are implemented well and adopted well, and then using the data that gets generated to create actionable insights to so that the value of that digital initiative becomes available to all the organizational constituents very quickly, and then you can use all of that to really create an edge for yourself using data science, automation, machine learning, uh, and so on, to get on to creating a market advantage for yourself. So that's the kind of a journey that a digital transformation entails. And what we talked about today was setting up these goals and initiatives. How do you identify the initiatives, and how do you create a roadmap for implementation? And then, of course, this journey goes on as that. Now, when we as we get to the end of our presentation today, we urge you to do some of the exercises that we just talked about. We urge you to think in terms of your business model, appraise your business model in terms of what are the various value dimensions that your products and services are about. How are they getting delivered to the customer? What are the various elements that go into it, and how can those elements be influenced by technology? That should lead you to thinking about certain prioritization approaches. And the prioritization approach that we just talked about was taking into account various factors of costs, complexities, risks, and impact, and getting putting them all together, sequencing them, and then what we are also talking about here is the importance of quick wins, and which is about even when the budgets are scarce, the investments are slow. So the digital transformation journey cannot stop. Innovation cannot stop. So there are a whole lot of digital initiatives that can be identified, which are of the variety of what we think in terms of soft coupling, where you might think in terms of not integrating the information systems or applications themselves, but bringing their data together for further insights and automation. So that could be a certain kind of initiatives that you can think of. Those are the initiatives that are enabling initiatives. They lead to value today, but then they lead to further initiatives in much easier manner. Similarly, you can think of automating peripheral loops. Now, in an organization, much of the value gets created not by not just by the core process or the core value chain that the organization has, but then also by hundreds of small processes that go around it. There is a lot of efficiency, there is a lot of engagement, there's a lot of value to be driven by these processes as well. So in times of resource scarcity, you can think in terms of identifying some of those processes and getting value. As you do more of those, you are again enabled to. And for all the participants, we have a free consultation session as an offer, where we can help you walk through some of the elements of business model identification for your organization, for your business in particular, and also mapping some of the digital opportunities to those. So that can help you start. Uh, Thank you. That's about it for today in terms of presentation.